what grade would you give this season in general? I don't even know if that's the right question to ask, but how do we view the big picture? How do we view this? How are we going to view this season? From now, 6 months from now, a year from now, what was this season?
So that's a tough question, honestly. Let me see. How do I want to answer this? I think that will depend on what happens, right? And I know that's not really a good answer. But if I had to say, honestly, looking at coming into this season, looking at the talent that we had on defense, this season is somewhat of a disappointment. I would give maybe a C to this performance this season, right? First full season with 2 brand new coordinators. Did not work out on the offensive side of the ball. We were absolutely inept on the offensive side of the ball in several games this season. The defense, had their moments as well where they did not play as well. Our defensive line was not nearly as dominant. And I don't think, and one of the biggest things that I think this season will always be remembered for is specifically the South Carolina game and Cade Klubnik not coming in to that game. Because somehow he wasn't ready for that game, but he was ready come ACC championship game, which was literally the next week. So I think that's going to be a big piece of how, and I think that's going to take Clemson fans a long time to get over. Because whether it's true or not, most Clemson fans truly believe if they would have put Cade in that game, we beat South Carolina. That's just the truth.
And I'm just of the opinion that if Clemson had just committed to the run in that game, and at the end they would have won the game, even with DJ in the game.
That's how we beat South Carolina the year before. We just committed to the run and we ran the ball. So whether it's true or not, that's how majority of Clemson fans, that's how they feel. So I think that's how this season's going to be remembered. And the reason that I say it will depend is because of how it is going forward. So, it was, the prior year was definitely the lowest point for Clemson football in a long time, right? Maybe not the lowest point ever, but in a long time, right? Still ended up getting 10 wins. Come into this season, maybe there's slight improvements on the offensive side of the ball, but not nearly consistent enough. Defense, we went through a transition period where you lost a long-time defensive coordinator. So what I'm saying is why it will depend is if we keep moving in the right direction, then maybe this is not viewed as such a disappointing season as we view it right now. Right now, I would say this was a disappointing season because I think we cost ourselves this season by making bad personnel decisions. And maybe that is viewed a little differently if we continue to trend in the right direction and this coaching staff somehow proves us wrong and figures out how to run a decent offense. But right now, if I had to give you an answer, this season was a disappointment. I wouldn't give it any higher than a C. And maybe that sounds like a spoiled fan take. I don't know.
I don't think it, and I don't think it's a spoiled fan take. And I've heard that from people. It's like, wow, man, people are why are you upset with 11 wins and an ACC title and all that? And no one is upset that Clemson won the ACC championship and won 11 games. I think the issue is is understanding giving the talent. Do people not understand? I think when people like go back and say, man, you guys must not have been around during the Tommy Bowden, Tommy West days, which I was.
Yeah, we were here.
Maybe not so much the Tommy West, but Tommy Bowden for sure.
Yeah, for sure,
For me.
Tommy.
And the issues with those teams are the complaints that the fans had with those Tommy Bowden teams are the exact same that we have now. It's just it's a step up or multiple steps up,
Yeah,
given the talent level that Clemson has accrued, and built to this point under Dabo Sweeney, given the expectations that Dabo has set for this program, and
right.
I don't think there's anything spoiled about holding this team to that standard.
Yeah,
And if you look through it through that lens, this was a disappointing season, and
absolutely.
this team is not playing up, to its talent level, and that has a lot to do with coaching. It falls directly on the shoulders of Dabo Sweeney,
Yeah, it
and
has to.
I don't think that's a spoiled. I don't think that's a spoiled thing to say. I don't think that's I don't think that's an invalid, position to take. Uh, There's a difference between that having that position and then being like, oh, fire Dabo, and
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just being completely doom and gloom and everything, and hating life, and yeah, like there's a difference, and I
Yes.
I don't think there's a problem with asking for more from this program, given the success that they've had in recent years, and the kind of talent that they have. They If you want to continue to be, if best is the standard and your team is not playing your best, I mean, you have every right to be disappointed. And
Yep.
so I think that is I think that Clemson fans, that if it I know that there's that are they're just fine with the results of this season, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, that's your prerogative. But if
I'm not.
I know, but if you have a true understanding of what Clemson has on its roster, and then the talent they have, and their ability to compete at the highest level, then this season wasn't good enough.
Right.
And yeah, again, I don't think that's an invalid position to have.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think I like how you put it, because I think it's important to realize the talent that Clemson currently has and currently recruits. Right. So like we get pretty much all 4 stars and a couple 5 stars here and there. Right. Like we weren't doing that when Tommy Bowden was coaching. Right. So in order for you to compare, oh, you weren't here in the Tommy Bowden days. Well, first of all, most of us, I would assume were. I know me and you were for sure, like you said, and that's a completely different team, right? Tommy Bowden didn't have a team full of 4 stars. Dabo Sweeney does, and he didn't early on, and he still got better, started recruiting better, and now we consistently recruit at around 10 in the country, right? If you wanted to average Dabo Sweeney out, right? He's probably right around the 10th best recruiting class in the country every year. Sometimes he has higher, sometimes he has lower, but right around 10, right? So it's not, yeah, I like how you put it, that it's not outlandish because of who they're coaching. They're not coaching a bunch of 2 and 3 stars. They're
yeah,
coaching
and
4 and 5 stars.
right. And I mean, again, and if you go to the 24/7 sports, and I know recruiting rankings are very subjective, and they're not perfect, but if you go to they have a team talent composite, and
Yeah,
it's based on your 4-year recruiting profile. Clemson has, according to that, the fifth most talented roster in college football, fifth,
fifth.
and and did the team you watched tonight look like the 5th best team in college football? Even close?
Not even close, man. Not even close.
And that's my biggest issue is you're not playing up to your talent level, and that
Mm-mm.
starts with the coaching staff. That starts with with your talent development, which is the job of the coaching staff. Um, there's just a lot of things that in this program that have taken a dip compared to previous years where Clemson wasn't recruiting as well. I mean, 20 in the 2020 and 2021 classes, Clemson had a top 5 class. Those are the best in school history. What does Clemson have to show for it? A Cheez-It Bowl and an ACC. Well, technically that many class was the freshmen in the 2020 season. So you have one college football playoff appearance and 2 ACC championships and a Cheez-It Bowl. But really, if you really consider, I mean, that most of the guys in the 2020 class were freshmen, you have a Cheez-It Bowl and an ACC championship, and
Yeah.
a 10 and 11 win season where you lost multiple 3 games each of those years
Right.
to teams you normally wouldn't. You really shouldn't, other than the Georgia game. So no, this program is not playing up to its ability, and they are not operating at the level that they can be and that they have been in the past. And so
Right.
there's a lot of things that can that you can ascribe to it, but at the end of the day, it falls on Dabo Swinney, and he's got to do something. I don't know what. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers, but
No.
clearly, I mean, you and I can see it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things wrong.
We can see it. Everyone else can. Yeah, we can see it. Everyone else can see it. And guess what? No, me or you don't have all the answers, but we're also not paid to have all the answers. So,
Correct.
but we can clearly see that this ain't it. This is something's wrong. DeAndre, thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Happy holidays to you and yours as well. And he said Bowden did have some 4 and 5 stars.
Nobody said Bowden didn't get didn't get his guys here and there, and that's why Clemson was still fans were disappointed with the performances of some of a lot of his teams, because he did have some he did have talented players, but not anywhere close to, and not to the degree and not to the volume that Dabo and Clemson have been recruiting at the last 10 or so years. It's been elevated to a different level, and but
and
it's
that's the
same
right?
thing. When those teams were not performing up to standard, Clemson fans were reasonably upset, and now when Dabo's teams aren't performing to standard, they're reasonably upset. And the last 2 years have been really, really disappointing. And the problem, and in a lot of ways, this season was more frustrating than the 2021 season, because at least the 2021 season you had a lot of I mean, that team was
injuries,
incredibly banged up with injuries and just really poor luck, and you were really deficient in a lot of areas that you didn't really foresee before the season. And it wasn't really anything you could do about it. But that season should have taught you a lot of lessons. And you go through the staff overhaul, losing your 2 coordinators, and you stick to your guns. And it's cost you in all 3 games that you've lost this year. And I said this on Twitter. I said that 2021 was arguably one of Dabo's best coaching jobs, given the circumstances of that team and what they went through and the adversity that they faced.
Right.
To win 10 games with some of the personnel they were working with was pretty incredible, especially on offense. And you followed that up and I said he followed it up with arguably his worst.
Yeah.
And it just because of key decisions, so multiple key decisions that cost you games. And hey, you won the ACC, and that's great. But at the end of the day, there was a lot more on the table for this team, and they were not able to they were not able to achieve those things. And I said it. Clemson has failed two of the yearly goals that they set for themselves every year in pretty embarrassing and spectacular fashion.
Yep.
You lose your state championship and you lose the closer, and that doesn't even. Yeah, so then that doesn't even factor. That doesn't even count the Notre Dame game. It's so
where you got completely manhandled on national television in front of everybody.
Yep.
For 4 straight quarters. It was never even close. There was no question of who the better team was that night.
Yep. And so, if you are, I mean, if those are your goals every season, and you're not, and for the second straight year you didn't complete them, I mean. And Clemson purposely sets those goals up so that they're attainable every year, and you're not even attaining them. It's
right.
They leave it vague enough. Winning the closer doesn't necessarily mean winning the national championship, because obviously you can't win it every year. But
absolutely,
you're not even doing that. The state, you're not winning you didn't win your state championship, and that was a game that was probably that's still just the worst loss, because that was I've never seen Clemson lose such a winnable game in my life. That's probably not true. There's probably some other examples, but
I'm sure there is, but it doesn't matter because that was a terrible loss.
Yes.
And it's recent, so it just it hits different, right? It's still a fresh loss, but I don't know. Disappointing season. Yeah, very disappointing season. Not sure. Yeah, I think the most frustrating part is I'm not sure we're headed in the right direction, right? You know, you could kind of get over a disappointing season if you truly felt like the program was heading in the right direction. But I'm not so sure we are headed in the right direction. And, you know, that's worrisome. If you're a Tiger fan and you're not worried right now, I don't know what you're looking at, because we should be worried. We should be very worried for where we're going. Are we still recruiting at a high level? Yes. But, you know, that doesn't last forever if you continue to underperform. You know, all these recruits that come to Clemson, it's because what they've seen from Clemson for as long as they can remember, right? They don't remember Clemson of old. They know this Clemson. So I would like for that to continue.
I agree. Want to take some questions from the comment section, and then kind of get out of here. It's late at night. It's 1:20 in the morning.
Goodness.
So I don't want to stay on here too much longer.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy late.
We appreciate you guys in the chat that have been participating, and you know, I see some Vol fans in here that have been pretty classy for the most part. So
absolutely, all the Vol
to the Vol fans that are in here, great game. Clearly the better team, and you know that there's a Josh Heupel has you guys moving in the right direction, and there's a bright future ahead for the Vols. So congratulations on the Orange Bowl, and great team. Yeah, just great team.
Absolutely.
Completely outplayed Clemson tonight.
Yep, you guys deserve to win the game. So congratulations to you, and thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Let's get to a couple comments here. Hey, guys, go ahead and get your questions in right now. If you guys got any questions for us or last bit of comments, we'll go through a few of them here, and then me and Jordan will get out of here. John Smith says Miami beat us out in recruiting this time around. Well, they got quite the recruiter as a head coach now in Mario Cristobal. So,
and quite the NIL situation too. But
yeah, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, Miami.
Miami and FSU. Yeah, FSU will be on us. Yeah, FSU's on the uptick.
Yeah.
They're looking good. Seems like Mike Norvell's got them going in the right direction as well. Um, Byron says, I will say this looking back on this year, I have said that Streeter was not doing a good job. And I think Cade wasn't given the chance he deserved. And I hope Dabo don't hold everything against Cade. I don't think Dabo holds anything against Cade. But I believe you're right. Brandon Streeter is not doing a good job.
No.
And I hope his boss lets him know that. Clemson's direction is clearly going in the wrong direction, says Hufford Billy. Thanks for stopping by, Hufford Billy. I tend to agree with you right now. Unfortunately, I hope it changes. It is not too late to change course. It is not too late, but we need to. Uh, okay, I'm not reading that comment.
Yeah, not worth talking about.
Come on, people. Keep it classy, at least a little bit. Pretend like you got some sense. I know it's YouTube and you're behind the keyboard, but keep the comments classy. It's not that serious. Let's see. In the fourth quarter, down by 7 with 12 points we should have had. We outplayed Tennessee in every stat but the score. Yeah, we did. In every statistical category, Clemson put up better numbers. But
yeah,
we did not
and
deserve to win that game at any point in time.
But but outplayed, and and that's kind of one of those things. It's kind of subjective because by sheer yardage, yes, Clemson, was they were more productive.
But if you watch the game,
yeah, but watching the game,
yeah,
Tennessee was they were more explosive and they were far more effective. They didn't run nearly as many plays as Clemson did. They had a better yards per play average. So on a down to down basis, Tennessee was the better offense, and it was clear they were clearly the better offense. And that's where it really matters because Tennessee didn't have to run 100 plays to get their yardage total, and they were far more effective when they did have the ball. And that's what matters the most. When you're comparing offensive performances, yes, Clemson, yes, they had the better raw numbers, but watching the game, I mean, Tennessee was clearly the better offense, and they were far more effective with their opportunities. So that's what the difference was in that game, and that's how you get a 31-14 score where the team that scored 14 points outgained the team with 31. But that's just because Tennessee they were just much better with their opportunities. Clemson wasn't.
Absolutely. According to Jim Nagy, who runs the Senior Bowl, Rook is returning in 2023. If he's right, that's big. That is big. That is big.
I know that. I don't Nagy has any knowledge of necessary. It's possible because since he does run the Senior Bowl, but I don't know. Let's pump the brakes. It's possible he's coming back, but yeah. But you're right, John. If he's right, that is huge. That would be a much needed. He had a really nice night.
We could hope. As a Clemson fan, is it time to panic? This downfall hurts. Not going to lie.
Is it time to panic, lose your mind, and pull your hair out? No, I mean I don't think it's ever that serious. But it's definitely. I mean, we've already had our eyebrows raised for this this year. But you do need to be. I mean, there does need to be a reasonable level of concern, and that. I mean, I don't. That doesn't mean lose your mind, but you definitely need to mean, we're all gonna be watching this program closely. We're gonna be watching Dabo closely to see what kind of moves he makes because
Absolutely.
I think Dabo knows that. I think he knows there's a lot that needs to be fixed. It really just depends on what he sees as the solution. So,
Yeah.
So there will be changes. There will be some semblance of changes made this year, but don't know if they're the changes that every Clemson all Clemson fans want or
Yeah.
But so we'll just have to see. We'll have to see what he does.
Let's see. We shall see. Josh gets in, says, other than the D line, most of the team is returning. We are losing Davis Allen, McFadden. But other than that, almost everybody is coming back. Plus Trotter and Carter are looking great. Yes. And it's not all bad. I don't want to pretend like it's all bad. We do have some great pieces returning next season. But these players can only execute what the coaches are game planning and scheming, right? So, I still think there needs to be some changes. We do have good pieces. That's part of the problem of why we're so frustrated. Is because our pieces are so good and they should be playing better. Taco Gaming says Dabo needs to fire Streeter. Get the O-line in the weight room. Wide receivers should catch 100 balls before leaving practice. And if not, the boosters need to pull. I don't know if the boosters will do that, but yeah, I like the O-lineman in the weight room. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Streeter's not going to get fired.
No.
So that's a pipe dream. That's not happening. Whether I agree with you or don't agree with you, it doesn't really matter. It's not happening. So, Chris White says, give Cade time to develop. Yes, I believe he will develop. I believe he's going to be a good quarterback for Clemson in the future. Tonight, we've already said tonight wasn't on him, and it doesn't change my mind about him.
Right.
I still think the same things about Cade that I did after the North Carolina game. Before the North Carolina game, I've always thought that he was going to be a really good quarterback for Clemson. We need better pass protection. Yeah, for sure. For sure we do. Hold up. Let's see. I'd wet myself if KJ announced that he's returning.
Yeah, you and me both, John.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I don't know. We'll see. Believe it when I see it, right? David Wood says, Cade still performed better than DJ? Yes.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Still, he missed reads, missed some protections, but yeah, for the most, we don't know because DJ obviously didn't play in this game, but yeah, there was definitely some more. There's that Cade had that probably we wouldn't be talking about with DJ.
Matt B said, did y'all see Hype will troll us with the best is yet to come line? No,
I didn't even watch the post game because I didn't even watch the ceremony because we hopped right on here right after the.
Yeah, we've been on here since the game ended, so I'm sure we'll see clips of it. That's pretty funny if he did do that, though.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny. That doesn't make me mad.
Yeah,
I get it. I think that's just a little bit of funny trash talk, honestly. Someone tell Cade to quit retreating 50 yards when he gets pressured.
Yeah, that's a really bad.
That's a bad habit that has to be. And we talked about it a little bit on here, and I think that's a high school habit. He's used to being able to outrun those ends. and get outside of that pressure. But this is big boy college football, and that ain't how it works up here. So, yes, that has to stop. The 85th ranked Tennessee defense. Yes, yes, we know, we know.
Yep.
Our offense is worse though. Do you guys miss Tony Elliott? No.
I mean, I don't think that's the question to ask. I mean, I miss. I miss just an explosive offense. That's what I miss. I mean, I don't care who it's from, who's calling it. That's really the difference. I mean,
Yeah.
Would Tony Elliott, call some of this differently? Probably. He certainly didn't have many games where he had his quarterback throw, his freshman quarterback throw 50 times. But hey,
I don't think he had very many games where any quarterback threw 50 times. But
right. But hey, it's
Brandon Streeter's definitely more pass happy than Tony Elliott. But Tony Elliott would abandon the run too. He was famous for abandoning the run as well. So I don't. That is. Bring back Jeff Scott. Yeah, I've heard that a million times on this channel this year, this season. I miss Brent. Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
But I think we have a pretty good defensive coordinator. Not that I wouldn't take Brent back. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not crazy, but
what Wesley, West has a lot to improve on as well. But
yeah, he's got a lot to improve on. But I think it was a solid first season, and I think he knows there's improvements to be made. I think, and unlike the offensive side, I think they can improve. I think West can improve as a play caller on defense. He does tend to make adjustments in game. We saw it several times this season, so not as worried about that side of the ball. Not that they can't improve.
Just the talent he has to work with. I mean, Clemson is still recruiting pretty elite on that side of the ball.
Yeah, they're still very, very loaded, and still bringing in top recruits. So
right. Yeah, defense definitely a lot to improve on, but that's certainly not my number one concern. And all the games Clemson lost all 3 games Clemson lost this year, would have been won with better offensive.
Absolutely,
is what it is.
We need new offensive mind. Yes. We need an injection of fresh ideas into our offense.